All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to a brand new explainer where we're going to bridge the ancient, dust-filled battlefield of Kurukshetra with the perfectly sterile whiteboards of a modern physics lab. I know, it sounds like a completely impossible combination, but trust me on this. By the end of our time together, you're going to look at reality in a completely different way. You know what's truly mind-blowing? The absolute heavyweights of our modern scientific world, the literal architects who decoded the atom and built the foundations of quantum mechanics, they were actively turning to the Bhagavad Gita for answers. People like J. Robert Oppenheimer didn't just read it as some quaint ancient poetry. No way. They were studying it like a highly advanced scientific manual. And so, this begs a really fascinating question. Could an ancient Sanskrit text actually hold the framework for modern thermodynamics and quantum mechanics? Think about it. What if the ancient mystics and today's physicists are actually looking at the exact same elephant, just, using entirely different languages to describe it? Here's our roadmap for this explainer. First up, mystics meet modern physics. Then we'll cover the 5 core truths, Chapter 10's cosmic unity, the quantum physics connection, and finally, designing your daily karma. All right, Section 1. Mystics meet modern physics. Which brings us to Section 2, the 5 core truths. Now, we usually separate spirituality and science into completely different boxes, right? Well, the Gita challenges that head on. To really get the physics side of this, we first have to crack the basic code of the universe exactly as it's laid out in the text. You gotta think of these 5 truths not as mystical religious dogma, but as the foundational laws of a massive cosmic operating system. Together, they basically explain the how and the why of literally everything we experience. First up, we have ISHVARA. This is the supreme source, the intelligent cause that visualizes and implements creation. To put it in modern terms, think of ISHVARA as the ultimate intelligent architect, or the foundational base code from which this entire simulation of the universe is programmed and run.
Second is Jiva, the living entity, the Atman. This is your core essence. It's a tiny spark of the divine that basically just changes bodies the same way we change our clothes. In quantum terms, the Jiva is the ultimate observer. It's the localized consciousness that literally collapses the wave function of reality simply by experiencing it.
Truth number 3 is Prakriti, or material nature. So, if Jiva is the software, Prakriti is the physical hardware of our universe. It's the matter, the elements, earth, water, fire, and absolutely all the energy that makes up the tangible physical world around us. Fourth is Kala, the unstoppable, relentless dimension of time. Just like modern physics treats space-time as the very fabric of the universe, Kala is the timeline that the entire cosmic simulation runs on, pushing everything forward from the exact moment of creation all the way to dissolution. And fifth, we have karma, the material activity and the everyday actions we perform that generate consequences. This is the ultimate law of cause and effect. It's essentially Newton's third law applied to the cosmos. Every single action creates an equal and opposite reaction, weaving this massive, endless web of interconnected events. Okay, moving to Section 3, Chapter 10, Cosmic Unity. So picture this intense scene on the battlefield. Krishna, who is acting as the charioteer, reveals this absolute reality-shattering truth to the warrior Arjuna. He shows him that the Supreme Source is immanent in absolutely everything. He's essentially telling Arjuna that all these strict boundaries we think we see, between objects, between people, between elements, they're entirely an illusion. Krishna explains that he is the literal essence of all things. Like when he says he is the single-syllable Om, it's profoundly literal. Think about the physics of it. If you just relax, open your mouth, and let air pass through your vocal cords, the most basic natural sound produced is that deep ah sound. He's saying he is the foundational resonance of reality itself. He goes on to demonstrate a cosmic, universal form, revealing that all planets, all beings, and all events are fundamentally woven into a single, unified whole. He compares it to pearls strung on a thread. From the outside, the individual pearls look totally separate, right? But there is a hidden, unifying core holding the entire structure together. Sound familiar? It sounds exactly like a unified field or string theory bridging everything in existence. Moving right along to Section 4, the quantum physics connection. Now here is where things get really wild. How does this ancient cosmic vision actually translate into modern science? Well, when we put these ancient Sanskrit verses right next to our modern physics textbooks, the parallels are genuinely astonishing. Take the ancient idea of an indestructible soul. It perfectly mirrors the first law of thermodynamics and the conservation of quantum information. The Gita says the soul is never born and never dies. It just changes forms. And physics? Physics says energy cannot be created or destroyed. It only transforms from one state to another. Actually, scratch that. It's not just a parallel. They're describing the exact same principle. And it goes deeper. Our karma acts exactly like entropy. In physics, entropy is basically the measure of disorder or scrambled information in the system. Well, in the Gita, our actions create karmic noise. Life and reincarnation are basically just the universe constantly trying to process and reorganize that scrambled data to reach a state of perfect balance. And remember that unified vision from chapter 10 we just talked about, where everything is connected like pearls on a thread? Well, that is precisely what Albert Einstein famously called spooky action at a distance. Today, we call it quantum entanglement. It's the scientifically proven reality that particles remain intimately connected, instantly influencing each other across vast distances. And this exact concept was described beautifully thousands of years before we ever had the math to prove it.
Finally, Section 5, Designing Your Daily Karma.
So, what does this all mean for you? Why does this matter on a random Tuesday when you're just sitting at the office? I mean, it's super cool to talk about quantum mechanics and universal forms, but how does this help us deal with overflowing email inboxes, difficult coworkers, and just the everyday stresses of modern life? Well, it matters because of karma yoga. See, true renunciation isn't about running away to hide in a cave. It's about being a perfectly balanced energy system right here in the real world. It's about taking action simply because it's the right thing to do, not because you're desperately craving some reward at the end of it. And you practice this by building what we can call a mental thermos. Here's how it works in practice. You do the work to the absolute best of your ability. You hit send on that crucial, stressful email, and then you just close the laptop. You completely detach from the success or failure of the result. By doing this, you stop generating anxious, chaotic entropy, and you just maintain your perfect internal equilibrium. I'm going to leave you with this final thought. If your core essence is literally indestructible energy navigating a beautifully entangled universe, how will that change the way you take action today? The next time you face a challenge, just remember, you aren't just a person struggling on a floating rock. You are an essential, eternal part of the cosmic equation.